Hey there, future IAS officers, ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today we're tackling a topic that's a bit of a legal thriller, with a dash of economics.
Oh, sounds intriguing.
It's definitely relevant for those UPSC Mains exams.
Let's hear it.
Get ready to dive deep into the world of coconut oil taxation in India.
Coconut oil? That's in my pantry and, well, sometimes my hair. What's the legal twist?
Well, this isn't just about what's in your pantry or on your hair, right?
Right.
It's about understanding how seemingly simple things, like classifying a product for tax purposes, can spark major legal battles and shape economic policies.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
So you've probably used coconut oil at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, who hasn't?
But did you know its tax classification has been bouncing around Indian courts for, like, over 15 years?
Really? Over a simple thing like coconut oil?
The Supreme Court finally just settled the debate.
Yeah.
It's a prime example of a concept that straddles economics, law, and even a bit of cultural context,
Yeah.
the kind of thing UPSC examiners just love.
Absolutely. These kinds of real-world examples make the concepts come alive.
Exactly. And this case touches upon several key themes in the UPSC syllabus, like interpreting tax laws, the role of international trade standards, and how consumer perception can sometimes, clash with legal definitions.
That's a lot packed into one little jar of coconut oil.
So let's rewind back to the pre-GST era, the Central Excise Tariff Act of 1985.
Ah, yes, the good old days.
Remember that one?
Vaguely.
It categorized coconut oil with other edible oils under a specific section with an 8% duty. Seems straightforward, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Separate it from hair care products,
Exactly.
which had a 16% duty. This aligned with the International Harmonized System of Nomenclature, or HSN for short.
HSM.
Yeah, basically a global system for classifying traded goods.
Ah, okay.
So India was in sync with the world.
But then things took an interesting turn. In 2009, a circular from the Central Board of Excise and Customs threw a wrench into the system.
Uh-oh, what did they do?
It reclassified small containers of coconut oil, those under 200 milliliters, as hair oil, and slapped them with that higher 16% duty.
So wait, the same product could be taxed differently based on the size of the bottle.
Now, imagine the confusion. This created a situation where the same product, coconut oil, could be taxed differently depending solely on the size of its container. It led to disputes and legal challenges because it just didn't make sense from a practical or a legal standpoint.
Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for chaos. And who stepped up to challenge this?
And this is where a company called Mahan Agro Industries enters the picture. They were selling coconut oil in various packaging sizes and faced potential tax penalties. They decided to fight back, challenging the circular's logic.
Good for them. So how did they go about it?
They took their case to the Customs, Excise, and Service Tax Appellate Tribunal, also known as CESTAT.
CESTAT, remind me again.
It's a specialized body that deals with appeals related to indirect taxes. Think of it as a stepping stone before reaching the Supreme Court.
Okay, got it.
Mahan Agro's argument was simple. Coconut oil, regardless of packaging, is primarily used for cooking in India.
Which is true.
It should be taxed as an edible oil. The CESTAT in Chennai agreed with them, setting a precedent that focused on the product's inherent nature over its container size.
That's a pretty big win, right? Did that settle it?
This was a crucial victory for Mahan Agro, and it sparked similar rulings across the country as other coconut oil producers faced the same issue. But the batter wasn't over yet.
Oh, no, there's more drama to come.
Hold on to your hats, folks, because here's where the drama really unfolds. The Commissioner of Central Excise in Salem wasn't happy with the CESTAT rulings and decided to take the fight to the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court of India, setting the stage for a legal showdown with nationwide implications.
Wow, this is getting intense. All right, I'm ready for part 2.
We'll dive into that next time.
We'll come back to our deep dive into the coconut oil conundrum. As we left off, the Supreme Court was about to deliver its verdict on this taxation tug-of-war, and believe me, their decision is a masterclass in legal reasoning. A goldmine of insights for aspiring IAS officers.
It's not just about coconut oil, is it?
Got it all.
It's about understanding how the highest court in the land interprets laws, balances competing arguments, and sets precedents that impact businesses and consumers across the country. Essential knowledge for anyone tackling the UPSC Mains exam.
Right. It's about the big picture.
Now, in 2018, the Supreme Court initially issued a split verdict.
A split verdict. So what does that mean?
Meaning the judges didn't fully agree.
Ah, I see. So it must have been a tricky one.
This highlights the complexity of the case. Justice Ranjan Gogoi favored classifying coconut oil as edible oil, irrespective of
It
packaging,
makes sense.
while Justice R. Banamathi leaned towards the common parlance test.
Okay. Common parlance test?
Yeah.
That sounds like something straight out of a law textbook.
It does, doesn't it?
What's that all about?
So what's this common parlance test all about?
Right. What is it?
It essentially means considering how a product is generally understood and used by the public.
Oh, okay. So like common sense.
So even if a product has a clear legal definition, if people primarily use it for a different purpose, that perception could influence its tax classification.
I see. So in this case, even though coconut oil is legally an edible oil,
Right.
if most people buy small bottles primarily for hair care,
Exactly.
that perception could lead to a higher tax rate.
Precisely. That's the crux of the common parlance test. It throws a wrench into things when legal definitions and popular usage don't quite align.
Yeah, I can see how that would complicate things. So what happened next?
This legal limbo continued for 6 years until a new Supreme Court bench, led by Chief Justice Sanjeev Khanna, stepped in to deliver a final verdict in 2024.
6 years. That's a long time to wait for a resolution.
And their decision is packed with insights relevant for UPSC aspirants.
I bet. What did they decide?
They ultimately rejected the common parlance test. In cases where a product has a clear and established legal definition, like coconut oil,
Okay, that makes sense. Follow the law.
they emphasize that while public perception is important, it can't override existing legal frameworks, especially when it comes to international trade norms.
Right. Got to keep things consistent globally.
So even if people associate small bottles of coconut oil with hair care,
Right.
that doesn't change the fact that it's legally categorized as an edible oil based on the HSN code, that global classification system we talked about earlier.
Right, absolutely. So the court basically said, we can't just go by what people think, we have to follow the law. This ensures consistency and prevents arbitrary tax classifications.
They also addressed the whole container size issue, stating that it's irrelevant for determining the tax category. Small containers are common for many edible oils, and they even cited specific rules that list permissible sizes.
This part of the judgment is fascinating because it highlights the importance of knowing the nitty-gritty details of various legal frameworks. Even seemingly minor rules can have a big impact.
Oh, for sure.
It's not just about the big picture laws. UPSC examiners often test your knowledge of specific regulations and how they interact.
This verdict isn't just about coconut oil. It sets a precedent for how India classifies goods for taxation, prioritizing legal definitions over fluctuating market perceptions and ensuring alignment with global standards. That's a key takeaway for anyone studying economics and law for the UPSC.
And think about the implications. This impacts everything from import duties to how businesses categorize their products. It's a landmark judgment that promotes legal clarity and consistency in the marketplace.
Now let's connect this back to the UPSC syllabus.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
This case illustrates several concepts that are likely to pop up in your exams. First, it shows how interpreting tax laws isn't always black and white. Seemingly simple classifications can spark major legal battles.
Absolutely. So much nuance in the law.
It also highlights the influence of international trade classifications, like the HSN, on domestic policy decisions. India can't just make up its own rules. It needs to be in sync with global standards.
Harmonization is key.
And finally, it underscores the balance between market perception and legal definitions when it comes to categorizing products. The Supreme Court had to weigh these factors carefully before arriving at its decision. These are all recurring themes in the UPSC syllabus, and this case provides a real-world example to illustrate them.
This is why studying real-world cases is so crucial for the UPSC. It's not just about memorizing facts and figures, it's about understanding how these concepts play out in practice and how they shape our legal and economic landscape.
This deep dive is a reminder that law isn't just a theoretical subject confined to textbooks.
Right.
It's woven into the fabric of our everyday lives, even in something as seemingly mundane as a bottle of coconut oil.
Yeah, you never know where the law will pop up.
And understanding these connections can give you an edge in your UPSC preparation.
It's about developing a critical eye, analyzing legal and economic issues, and understanding the broader implications.
Exactly.
These skills are essential for anyone aspiring to become an IAS officer.
Before we wrap up, I'm curious, what stands out to you as the most significant aspect of this case? What lessons should UPSC aspirants take away from this coconut oil saga?
For me, it's the emphasis on legal clarity and consistency. The Supreme Court's decision sends a strong message that we can't have tax classifications changing based on whims or fluctuating public opinion.
Yeah.
You know, it's about having a stable and predictable framework for both businesses and consumers.
That's a great point. It makes me think about how this ruling might influence future cases dealing with product classification and taxation. It sets a powerful precedent, right?
Absolutely. Imagine a scenario where a new multi-purpose cleaning agent hits the market. It can be used for dishes, laundry, and even as floor cleaner. How would we tax it?
Based on the coconut oil case, it seems like the tax authorities would have to dig deeper into the product's primary function, as defined by its chemical composition, manufacturing process, and marketing claims. They can't just go by how consumers are using it.
Exactly. If the manufacturer primarily markets it as a dishwashing liquid, even if people use it for other cleaning purposes, the tax classification should ideally reflect that primary function. This ruling provides a framework for tackling such ambiguities.
It also raises interesting questions about the role of consumer perception in shaping regulations. If there's a significant disconnect between how a product is legally defined and how it's commonly used, shouldn't there be a mechanism to bridge that gap?
That's a crucial point. It brings up the dynamism of law and how it adapts to, changing societal norms and consumer behavior. Perhaps this ruling could encourage regulatory bodies to be more proactive in ensuring that legal definitions stay relevant and reflect how products are actually used.
Maybe we'll see a greater emphasis on consumer surveys or market research when making these classifications, adding a layer of real-world data to legal frameworks.
It would be fascinating. It could lead to a more nuanced approach to taxation, acknowledging the evolving nature of products and consumer habits.
So to sum it up for our dedicated UPSC aspirants, this deep dive into the coconut oil tax saga highlights how law, economics, and even societal perceptions intersect. It's a reminder that law isn't just about memorizing statutes.
Right.
It's about understanding how they play out in the real world.
Exactly.
This case is a perfect example of how a seemingly simple question can lead to complex legal battles, revealing the intricate workings of our tax system and the principles of legal interpretation. It's a must-study case for anyone preparing for the UPSC exams.
Couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. Analyze the judgment, understand the key arguments, and think about its broader implications. And hey, the next time you're using coconut oil in your cooking or as a hair treatment, remember the legal journey it took to get to your shelf.
I definitely will.
We hope you found this deep dive informative and engaging. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow UPSC aspirants. We'll be back with more deep dives into fascinating topics that matter. Until then, keep learning and keep questioning.